I'm a domestic. We do the general cleaning of the hospital, and we also serve lunches and tea, coffee, breakfast. Within reason, as long as we've got it, you can have it. If we don't got it, we can't give it to you. We work within that kind of scope. I wouldn't go as far as saying this is my life goal to do this job, but after starting here, especially through the COVID period, you learn a lot and you feel like you're actually helping. Because we work in an area that's draining. Aye. We come here every day and we work our butts off and we get told all different things. You don't always get told you're doing a great job, but they'll tell you straight away if you're doing a bad job. Or if you forget that one thing. It's kind of like Matilda. I'm big, you're small, I'm right, you're wrong, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's very challenging where we work. I mean, every day is different. You don't know what you're walking into. You've got to be kind of mentally prepared for that kind of stuff sometimes. You're like, here we go again. But you always have your friends to kind of fall back on and be like, you can come and say, oh my God, and then they'll get you back to level and you go back in.
I've got 5 children, so I've always been a kind of caretaker, looking after everybody. I just fell right into the role, it was amazing.
The clue. Where's the clue?
Well over 80% of NHS staff are women, who are the people who make sure our hospitals are clean, make sure that everything's moving. They are the people that the NHS would fall apart in hours if they weren't here.
We represent all healthcare workers across Scotland, but in this specific organising dispute, we represented Serco workers. That's everything from housekeeping staff, cleaners, portering, security, tradespersons as well.
We had predominantly female, low-paid, part-time staff. That's the majority of people we're dealing with.
These are the lowest paid members of staff within the NHS, on the breadline or floating just above the breadline. They count every penny in their weekly household budget and they've got everything planned out for it.
In general, members come to us for a variety of reasons, from sickness, absence reasons.
Their complaints and their disciplinaries, and that takes up the majority of our work, with a little bit of wider campaigning.
Pay being wrong, seem to get the pay wrong more often than not.
And there are only a couple of contracts that Serco hold in Scotland.
We're far the biggest in Scotland in terms of size.
I was copied into an email that said that Serco were moving all their health contracts from weekly to monthly pay in line with the rest of Serco. I remember thinking, oh, that can't be right. And the next thing that happened, the day before we went to conference, the letters had gone out to the members of staff to say, we are doing a 45-day consultation, moving you from weekly to monthly pay.
The company at the time had said, we understand that some people might be negatively financially impacted by that, and they were prepared to offer them a short-term loan.
So giving you an advance of your salary, giving you budgeting advice, but really, if you don't choose to move over, we're going to impose it in September.
But what they'd also said is that if nobody volunteered to come forward or nobody agreed to change their contracts, what they would ultimately do would be to dismiss them and re-engage them on those terms.
We call it fire and rehire.
Fire and rehire is when an employer seeks to put through a change to your contract or a contractual variation. You do not accept those changes or you do not agree with those changes. The employer will say, that's all right, that's fine. We will sack you on the Friday. We will rehire you on the Monday with these new terms.
So we started to get text messages and angry calls. It was only really when we came back and attended one of those meetings that we realised the level of anger and upset and distress around this.
I'm an employer that already probably had quite a lot of low morale from workers that had felt mistreated for some time.
We had people saying, I've been debt-free just for 2 years, I'm going to go back into it.
And to change a frequency like that and just kind of mess with my entire financial life, that's going to have absolutely massive consequences that are potentially long-standing.
It was a no-brainer for me as a trade unionist.
And I think that you've got to understand low pay and poverty to really understand why that's such a big deal for people.
Offering a loan to these people was offering them another year of poverty rather than while Serco made a profit from that.
I think, there's that traditional kind of sense that like somebody might say, this bad thing's happening to me, what is the union going to do about it?
I think we need to be honest with ourselves is that we have not done the political organisation and agitation that let people know that the union was more than just an insurance scheme for when they get into trouble.
I'm pretty long in the tooth in trade unionism, so I have a very low bar on optimism. I know that it's very hard to win these disputes. I liken trade unionism to banging your head against a brick wall constantly, and occasionally you make a crack in it.
Quite quickly thought, this isn't a servicing issue, this is an organising opportunity.
As a trade unionist, you're used to if people come to you with a problem, you've got a process of what you would do. How do we take that strength of feeling and put it into collective power or bargaining? We met with everybody a number of times, evenings and weekends. We did a survey really quickly. I know that sounds really boring, but actually it was really powerful for us around what the strength of feeling is.
We collected a lot of really strong emotive data very early on.
There's about 700 Serco members. 600 of them were weekly pay, but they're not all UNISON members, they're other trade union people as well. So you've got to have enough people to go on strike to have an impact.
Less than half of the staff affected were unionised.
The next thing for us was building the membership, working towards a ballot.
We're a little bit nervous about what we can maybe do.
They were coming along even to information sessions that GMB, Unison and Unite were running jointly to tell them what their postal ballot would look like, how to get it back.
We didn't have much time here. Remember, this is now the end of June. And if you know anything about industrial action ballots, there's lots of hoops to be jumped through. When you take that to your trade union, they go, well, normally we do a consultative ballot. Luckily, they waived their consultative ballots, and I always appreciate that because that's not the normal process, but they understood the timeline as well.
In the NHS, particularly in Scotland, industrial action is not something that's routinely done. This is the health sector, people care about their jobs.
There was a real strength in the type of people who were members. They were, I say absolute warriors within this. Those are exactly the people you want to be doing an industrial action ballot with.
There is a salary sacrifice that's involved. You take industrial action and you will not be paid. There are some hardship supports that the members will get as part of that, but it might not necessarily cover their full take-home pay for any of the action that we take. You really need to have really strong, candid conversations with people about what industrial action looks like, specifically what strike action looks like and what it means.
We were really lucky that everybody's on the one side. We also had what we call the two-tier agreement in the NHS, which means that our staff are supposed to be treated with the same terms and conditions as the NHS.
In order for a member to want to get to that point, to take it, they need to believe two things. They need to believe that it's winnable, and they need to believe that the union has their back and they're part of something bigger.
So we had a number of people who were already monthly pay, and they were saying, well, it doesn't affect me, but they're using fire and rehire notices, which has never been done in Scotland in the NHS as far as I'm aware. So if they can change these terms and conditions with a fire and rehire notice, they can change any of your terms and conditions with that.
So we knew where the workers were, we'd done our mapping, we'd been recruiting. We had developed a very kind of simple charting exercise where all of the branch officers and myself on board, when we are out speaking to individuals every day, we have got the name of the individual, we've got where they work, we've got their job title, and we are logging every interaction with individuals. So have they voted, has their ballot turned up? The very first thing that we had done, I'd had these petition boards signed up, so a very massive visual for individuals, workers, patients, other non-Serco employees to come up.
Our Facebook page was huge in the campaign, and we tried to make it humorous as we could. It was to get that message across that it was postal ballots, and that became the postbox. So it was hot and sweaty. Lots of fun, and we got out and about. The postbox was seen at all the big tourist attractions in Forth Valley.
The WhatsApp groups that we set up, the social media accounts were producing very high numbers.
That's it, well done.
We had Pretty spectacular things with a led by donkeys van going outside.
Daily kind of videos, daily updates over the dispute after every conversation or interaction we'd had through negotiating with the employer. Karen would do a quick video or some kind of quick comms to keep the membership engaged.
It was all done in the workplace.
Members as well, they were providing us lots of stuff that we could use to really, build that confidence. It became really powerful very quickly.
It's incredibly hard work.
We are elected by our membership to do that. If you're accepting that, I think you need to make yourself available to your membership all the time. We deal with people in the worst times of their lives, often.
We had to do a bit of myth busting, I suppose, or a bit of debunking around what it means to take industrial action in a healthcare setting that you might get as an employer saying, well, if you go out on strike, it's going to impact patient safety. That's obviously absolutely not the case, but this is a contractual dispute. They are not following, a fair process. They are not following Scottish Government Fair Work guidelines, and you need to stand up. No fair employer would do that to their workers, particularly an employer that's in receipt of a very prestigious NHS contract in Scotland.
Was I part of the conversation? I did encourage people to do it. I think it's important to protect yourself. I think you can never have too many people in your corner.
They couldn't get the forms off as quick enough. They knew that they had to organise to fight.
So I'll never understand Serco's position on this. There was, very little engagement on this at the beginning at all. Like, they never spoke to us. They had written to the regional private contractors in person because they were upset about the language that we used. They didn't like us using the term fire and rehire. Yeah, but that's what it is. They thought we would get a row for misbehaviour, but we didn't. We'd emailed all the MSPs and got members to do that. So they spoke to MSPs, they spoke to the Cabinet Secretary, because we did a political campaign to the Cabinet Secretary and the First Minister. The Chief Exec of the organisation, they spoke to them. And I remember thinking, but the people you have to engage with is the local representatives who have been voted in to represent them, which was our local trade union reps. We were the only people that could do the negotiation on this, and either they didn't understand how trade unions worked, or they thought somebody was going to tell us, don't do this.
I don't think they understood Scottish legislation around protecting vulnerable groups.
By the time we actually sat down to a negotiation, we were in a very strong position because we were able to get people out on strike.
The ballot opened on the 15th of July and it closed on the 5th of August.
There's never been a picket line outside an NHS and hospital in Scotland for decades. I think the pension was the last one, which was 20 years ago. I mean, it's unimaginable that would happen in Forth Valley, to me, somebody would have had to intervene, whether it be the First Minister or somebody. I'll be honest, I think we effectively unionised almost the whole of Serco through that campaign.
Our ballot has returned an overwhelming result.
There was probably less than 10 staff who weren't in a union by the end of it.
By the time we got to the position to negotiate, we were asking for way more than we thought we were going to get at the beginning, because we were like, actually, that's not good enough anymore. 82% turnout for your ballot with a 99% vote for strike action. That puts you in a pretty strong position.
Our campaign became impossible to ignore. It generated national media interest. It generated interest from across the trade union movement in Scotland. And because we've taken on a company that turns hundreds of millions of pounds in profit, and they blinked first.
It took me back to see my mum going without. Her determination to continue to go without, as long as it kept the strike ongoing. I was certainly reminded by many of the women, the domestics and so forth, and catering staff. I was reminded of how ordinary working class women can change the world.
They've never approached us. Why are you changing something that's not broken? So you've just kicked off for no reason. You've made us have to kick off for no reason. Do you know what I mean? It's made it unsettled. I need to go and do the lunches. I didn't even realise the time. Are we done?